Hi everyone, this is Today I Learned Cloud, and I'm going to make a video today about things you can do without needing to write any code with AWS. A new service that they just launched is called Honeycode, which you can get to at honeycode.aws. So what I'm just going to do to start off is I'll create a workbook here, and I'll do a start from scratch. So now we have this new untitled workbook. I'll open it up. And what we're going to build is a recipe app. So I'm just going to try to type this here, recipe, and our first table, we'll actually call it recipe, or recipes. And we can delete these two columns here for now, we don't need them, and we'll just call this first column name, I guess. So this will be the name of the recipe, and then we can delete these rows. So we're going to add a couple more tables, one for the ingredients. So we'll call this one ingredients. And we're going to give it one column called amount. The next one will be measurement. And then we'll give this a name. Oops. We're going to add another column here so that we can link this ingredient back to the actual recipe. So if we click this here and we just type the recipe, and then we can delete these rows as well. And then we need to add another table that we're going to call steps. So just call it steps. And then we're going to give one column, it's going to be called order, so that we can order the steps. The next one is actually going to be the step. And then we'll also need the recipe here so we can link it back. Since it's a one-to-many relationship where we have many steps per recipe, and the same thing with ingredients, we have many ingredients per recipe. Again, we'll just delete these records or rows. So what I need to do now is actually link the recipe column back to the recipe table, and the same thing with ingredients. So in order to get the linking working, we need an empty row, otherwise we'll get an error from Honeycode. And what we want to do is set up a link between the recipe column inside the steps table back to the recipes table. So we just click the wizards now that we have that empty row, and we do a create pick list. And we essentially want to be able to make the recipe be a pick list back to a recipe so that we can associate the step to a recipe. So we choose the steps table and the recipe column because that's where we want the pick list to be. But we want to link it back to an existing table called recipes. So we do that, hit apply, and go. So now we have this recipe column linked back to the recipes table. We're going to do the same thing for ingredients. So again, we're going to do a wizard here, create pick list. We're going to choose the ingredients table and the recipe column since that's where we want the pick list to be. And we want an existing table back to recipes again. And then go. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work because we need the empty row. So I'm just going to do that again. Ingredients, recipe, existing table, recipes, and go. So now we have a drop-down list for recipes back to the actual recipe table, but there's no data there yet. So now we have our three tables, recipes, ingredients, and steps. We can actually start working on the app side of things. So we'll go here and build our own app, which we'll just call recipe app. So this is the main page. We're just going to give it a name, recipes. And what we want to do here is add a, oops, we select this, and then we want to add a stacked list. So we do want to show recipes here, but we don't want to show the, actually let's go back. So if we go back to the recipes table, when we did those links, it added a couple columns here to show the related steps and related ingredients. We're just going to rename those columns. So we're just going to call this steps, and we're going to call this one ingredients. And I like to have the ingredients over first. So now if we go back to the app that we had just started, I spelled that wrong. So we want to add a stacked list here, and we want the list to be sourced from the recipes table. We actually don't want it to show the ingredients and steps here in this list, but we do want to add a detail screen. So if I click create, this will essentially be a list of the recipes, but there is no data there yet. And there's also a search box so you can search for the recipes. And if we go to the screens, we can see that a recipe detail was added here. We don't want the ingredients to show up like this. So we're going to delete this segment. And we're going to delete the steps. But what I do want to do is now add a column list of ingredients. And I don't want to show the recipe, so I just want to show the amount, the measurement, and the name. And I want to add that here. And then I also want to add a second one, which is the steps. We again don't want to show the recipe, and then we have order and step. We can leave those. We'll click create. Now for each of these I want to turn off the search, just because they don't really apply. And then we kind of want to change the source here. So we essentially want to filter the ingredients to be the current row of recipe. So we do a filter the ingredients table, and the condition that we want is that the ingredients table recipe column is equal to our input row. So that way we'll only ever see the ingredients of the current recipe. So we'll save that, and we're going to copy this and use that over here on the steps as well. There we go. So now this is the list for the steps. So we're going to do the same thing here, but we want to filter steps table to be from the steps table. The condition is the steps recipe is now equal to the input row. But we also want to do order by steps order. So this way, essentially it'll pull the steps from the recipe and sort them in order based on the order column that we have specified in the record. So there isn't any data here yet, but this will make a lot more sense once there is. So now if I go back to here, to the main screen, what we want to do is be able to create some recipes. So if I go here and click form, we want a new button and form. We want to be able to add a recipe. And the only thing we want to fill in on the recipe side first is the name. So we'll just do a create here. And that created a new screen to fill in the recipe information. So now we're going to add a second one, button and form, but this time for ingredients. And we don't want actually we do want the recipe here. Put that back. So we want to be able to select the recipe when we're adding ingredients. So I'll just click create. And then we're going to add a third one for the steps. And again, we want all these options. So now if I go back to the screens, we can see the recipe form is just asking for a name. We have the ingredients form is asking for the amount, the measurement, the name, and the recipe that we want to link it to. And we have the steps form that has the order for the step, the step itself, and again the recipe. So this effectively is basically the app that we want to show. So if I go here and click View App, we can now see the app is up and running. There is no recipes to look at the moment, so we might as well add one. So if I click the Add Recipes row, we just want to give our recipe a name. And a simple recipe that we can add is just a grilled cheese. So we click Done here. Now we can see grilled cheese shows up. But there's still no ingredients or steps. So if we go back and I want to add some ingredients, so basically let's say we want to add 1 slice of cheese to our grilled cheese. Done. And then we also want to add 2 slices of bread to the grilled cheese. And I'll just go back there, and I noticed that there is that empty row here. So we can actually go back to the table data. We can now see, our grilled cheese is here, and we have 2 ingredient records linked to the grilled cheese. So we have 1 slice of cheese, 2 slices of bread, but we want to get rid of this empty row here. So we'll delete that. And then let's go back to the steps row and also delete this. And let's double check the recipes. Yeah, so there's no empty there. So now if we go back to the app and click View, in our grilled cheese, we can now see we have 1 slice of cheese, 2 slices of bread, but again, no steps. So if we go back, we want to add some steps. So the first step is to actually butter 1 side of each bread. And this will be linked to the grilled cheese. We'll add another step. The second step, place cheese between bread, unbuttered side. And again, this will go to the grilled cheese. And then we'll add a third step, toast 1 side of grilled cheese. And we'll add the last step as toast the other side. So there, we've now added 4 steps. We have 2 ingredients, and we added the grilled cheese as a recipe. So when we open it up, we can see that we have our grilled cheese filtered down to 1 slice of cheese, 2 slices of bread for the ingredients, and then the different steps that we just added, and they're also in order. So if we wanted to add another recipe, so I'll just do an omelet. So now we can see 2 different recipes. So when I click grilled cheese, we still see only the grilled cheese information. And when I click omelet, we see none of the ingredients or steps because there isn't any yet. So if we now add ingredients, we can do 1. There's not really a measurement for an egg, or maybe 1 whole egg to the omelet. And then, so now we see that show up there. Add ingredients. Let's do 1 slice of cheese. And then the steps are step 1, scramble egg in a bowl. Step 2, pour egg onto hot pan. And then step 3, we'll just say flip when ready to cook other side. Actually, yes. And step 4, place cheese and fold so that the two edges now cover the cheese. And again, we'll add that to the omelet. So there we go, we have 2 recipes. We can see that the omelet is only showing the ingredients for the omelet and the steps for the omelet, not the grilled cheese. We can go here, select the grilled cheese, and see its steps and ingredients. And we see the steps are also sorted. So we can go ahead and add as many as we want here. And also, if I go back to the tables, I just want to show you that the actual data gets saved inside of Honeycode. Yeah, so I close that. If I go here, we can go to the tables. Under recipes, I can see that I've got a grilled cheese and an omelet. There's 2 ingredients for each of them and 4 steps for each of them. We can also go to the ingredients. We see there are 4 records of ingredients and which recipes they're attached to. And then we can also go to the steps. We actually have 8 records here and what recipes are attached to. So this was just a simple demo that I wanted to show of how you could use Honeycode without really writing any code. The most code we would have written is the filter that we had to add inside of the recipe detail page. So when we look at our lists, just let me open this here, this filter here, which is very much like an Excel filter. So if you're used to Excel, you'd be able to do that pretty easily. Yeah, so this is a quick example of essentially building an app that can be rendered for web or browser desktop without needing to really write any code, and you can do quite a bit of things. If you want to have some other ideas of what you can do inside of AWS without writing any code, I've written an article at todayIlearnedcloud.com/AWS no code. If you visit that link, I go through many different things that is possible to do on top of AWS without needing to write code to be able to accomplish different tasks. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.